What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my man in the corner, producer Nick Belsky. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, it just continues, Nick. It just never ends. This is a team where if you remove the quarterback, they become the most loud, headline-filled, probably lied about team in the NFL. It is absolutely insane. It does not end. We thought it was bad last year. I mean, we're weeks into this, a month. We're a month into this, and it is 10 times worse than it was a year ago. We're talking Trevor Lawrence rumors, what we have been told by sources, both in Pittsburgh and in Jacksonville, about the situation. And then, well, if everybody's got something to say about the quarterback, if everybody's got something to say about where the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback is going to come from, ourselves included, we have reports recently from Albert Breer, Jerry Dulac, us, Russell Wilson himself, our boy Nick Fairbaugh, all with different reports in different directions about where the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be when it comes to their QB1 in 2025. So let's just rank them and figure out who the top options are, who are apparently on a list that never seems to end. But we will start with Trevor Lawrence. First off, it's windy. If my house falls over in the middle of this show, wouldn't even surprise me. But we're getting through it. We're getting through February. It's coming and going fast, which is awesome. I hope you're doing the same. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling great. It's Taco Thursday in the Belsky household. So while I'm recording this, I just have the faint aroma of tacos marinating in the crock pot. So I'm excited. It's a good show. I wore the closest color to Jaguars teal that I could, because this is just, as close as anybody is going to come to being Pittsburgh and Trevor Lawrence at the same time.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. The tacos, phenomenal. Tacos in a crock pot. I think we've had this conversation before, but tacos in a crock pot. I still think it's beautiful. I do my tacos old fashioned with just a little bit of ground beef and one taco packet. And
to be fair, I do chicken tacos. I don't do ground beef tacos.
See, you are a much better cook than I. Much better cook than I. Let's start with Trevor Lawrence. Oh my gosh, Trevor Lawrence. This morning, we all woke up, thought it was going to be a normal Thursday. I mean, I spoke to our managing editor on Monday, and my news to her, my report on the week was, this is either going to be the most boring or the most exciting week of the offseason. And honestly, I think it's both, because you go stretches of nothing, but every day is something wild, and you never know when it's going to come. And for the Steelers, it just keeps on coming. We've gone Aaron Rodgers. We've gone Deebo Samuel. We've gone Russell Wilson on Russell Wilson. We've gone Matthew Stafford. This morning, we went Trevor Lawrence down south. Everybody woke up to the news from Ryan Burr of the Big Ten Network that tweeted out, quote, Steelers have made inquiries to the Jacksonville Jaguars about a trade for quarterback Trevor Lawrence. This directly from the horse's mouth in the Jags organization. Wow. Explanation point. What? Everybody freaks out. Everybody writes it, tweets about it. Everybody shares their thoughts. I think half of Steelers Nation fell in love with the idea immediately, and the other half started a full-blown panic about how the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to get a guy who's thrown 46 interceptions in 4 years. We all sat, we lingered in it, we waited for it to calm down. There were instant reports out of Jacksonville saying this isn't that true. Then our sources spoke. We spoke to sources. All Steelers Talk did in Pittsburgh and in Jacksonville. And this is what I have to tell you. A senior Pittsburgh Steelers source tells All Steelers Talk exclusively, this is right from my report earlier today, quote, there has never been, nor was there at any time, implied or directly, any imposition about Trevor Lawrence. Continued. I am certain that any official with the Jacksonville Jaguars would confirm this. Simply not true. End quote. Well, I was directed to a source in Jacksonville, a senior executive source in Jacksonville, that gave me this quote. A source, again, this is right from my report, a senior Jacksonville Jaguars source called the reports, quote unquote, laughable, confirming the source is out of Pittsburgh. That is where we stand right now. It has been a wild day. It has been a wild week of quarterbacks, safeties calling out quarterbacks, and it's only Thursday. We have one more day to close this bad boy off, and who knows what's going to happen in the next 16 hours when we're on here again, 17 hours when we're on here again. But Trevor Lawrence, the former first overall pick in the NFL draft, 25 years old, signed to a 5-year, $275 million contract that, if you do not get out of it in 2028, costs you $78 million in one season and $74 million the year after that. He has a new head coach, and quite frankly, still nobody to answer the phone from Pittsburgh. Trevor Lawrence, you could be upset with it. You could be joyous about it. He's not coming to Pittsburgh. We have that pretty locked down. And when you listen to all of the internet saying the same thing, it just tends to seem like, well, today a report got flown out there that wasn't true. Not saying that Ryan Burr got the wrong news or just lied. I'm just saying that wasn't true. And the truth is, the Steelers, they made no such phone call. And I don't believe they would about the 25-year-old worth $275 million. I just rambled a little bit for a couple minutes there, gave my big spew about what's going on. I know you have thoughts on this. You could share. What do you got?
Yeah, my initial thought was, who is the horse's mouth himself? Because there's no general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
yeah,
who exactly is that horse's mouth? Because the info he gave was more like the horse's other side. So I understand that it's something that immediately lit the world on fire. I mean, Trevor Lawrence came into the NFL as the next big guy. He was the next big thing in the NFL, but it makes no sense in general. Like, even if you discount the fact that they don't have a general manager, therefore there's not really that many people you can call that would actually okay this deal. They just signed a wonderkind offensive-minded head coach. If anything, why wouldn't he want to rehabilitate somebody who has won a division title in the AFC South, has won a playoff game in his career, and is still very young? It made no sense to me that they would be looking to move on from Trevor Lawrence. I understand that contract is not great, but it's not like the options on the open market, as we've talked about all offseason long, are all that appealing right now. So from the jump, I was a little skeptical, and hearing the reports coming out of both Pittsburgh and Jacksonville via Steelers on SI, it made all the sense in the world that is not happening in the slightest.
No. I again, I don't even know if in the history of the NFL, I would imagine it has happened, but I would imagine it's very rare how many times a team has made a trade without actually having a general manager. I don't know who you would do that or why you would do that. I also, again, just like you said, don't know who the Steelers would call, because unless you're calling, what's his name, Shaka Khan himself, and saying that's not his name.
It's not Shaka Khan. No.
What is it?
Shad Khan and his son's Tony.
Khan. There it is. And unless you're calling him directly and saying, we want your quarterback, I don't know who you're getting on the phone with and asking about a price. It's not like the third guy down answers the phone in Pittsburgh and says, oh, Justin Fields, 3rd round pick. I'm thinking a 3rd round pick. I'll get that confirmed for you, but 3rd round pick. No, Omar Khan's not calling anybody but the active GM in Jacksonville to have a 5-second conversation that either turns into a long drawn out conversation or a 5-second conversation. That is all that happens. I mean, it would have been an interesting storyline. I'm not going to be the guy that says I'd be opposed to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think I would be. I think in the offseason that the Steelers are dealing with, Trevor Lawrence is a fine option. I'm not paying Trevor Lawrence that much money, but at the same time, Trevor Lawrence's contract is terrible, but is set up in a way where you could get out of it before it gets really bad. And I think in 2025 is only $17 million, something like that. 2026 is 24. It's essentially what Justin Fields is going to get paid either way. The only difference is you're not locked down to Justin Fields if that's your option. And you'd be locked down to Trevor Lawrence if he continues to throw 17 and 14 interceptions in a season. If he just continues to not be able to turn into what we thought Trevor Lawrence was going to turn into. Too many question marks. I'm sorry. Trevor Lawrence is not a name. It was a good run. It was a good couple of hours. You know, we got 4 hours out of complete chaos. I'll be honest with you. I answered the phone and said, took you long enough when I got the phone call today. Took you long enough. I knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. But there's wild reports all season long, or all week long, I would say. I mean, we've dealt with Aaron Rodgers. We've dealt with Stafford. We've dealt with the NFL draft. We've dealt with Russell Wilson. So I think we have to kind of lay the groundwork here. And that's where we'll start in this next conversation. And then we'll tie it into who the best options are if Trevor Lawrence isn't coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And those options are not as good. Let me ask this. Outside of Matthew Stafford, who we'll dive into here in a second, is there an option better than Trevor Lawrence?
When it comes to pure talent and potential upside, no, I don't think there is an option. I know that there's going to be people that point out that he has all these interceptions. He went 2-8 last year. He got injured at the end of the year. His contract is horrible, but pure talent wise, if he was on the open market right now, he'd be the best quarterback. He'd be the best option, especially considering the age gap between him and Matthew Stafford. He would edge out Stafford. Now, the problem is with Lawrence is you do have that contract. You can't wipe it away. And you're going to have to pay probably a lot in order to acquire Trevor Lawrence. And this is the last piece that we need move. The Steelers are more than one piece away from doing the thing. So that's not a move that would make sense, even if he was on the open market or on the trade market, I should say, this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I think that he'd be phenomenal if he was a free agent. He's not a free agent.
Nope.
Like, okay, great. Go trade for Justin Herbert while you're at it. You know,
exactly.
that sounds awesome. Who knows what happens? That sounds awesome. We could toss any name out there. I think the biggest point that you brought up was the head coach. Like, you don't steal the guy from Baker Mayfield and have him lie about going to the doctor's office for his kid so that you could trade your quarterback and leave him with nobody. Who are they going to draft in the draft? They're not going to get Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders. Jackson Dart? They're trading for Jackson Dart. That's where we're at here? Okay. Sounds good. Let's go through all the quarterback situations. This is what we've heard in the last 2 weeks about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll start with, I guess, colleague somewhat of the show here. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated says that Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers, or quote-unquote a veteran option, is who he believes comes to Pittsburgh over both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And in the latter of that situation, if they don't get a veteran, they'd go Justin and then Russ. Jerry Dulac says that it wouldn't surprise him at all. He expects a quarterback to be selected somewhere around the third round for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2025 NFL draft. We reported that the Steelers want Justin Fields on a reasonable contract. And as long as he's willing to have a reasonable contract, he will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. But what reasonable is, we do not know. And if Justin's willing to be reasonable, we do not know. Russell Wilson himself is coming up with every report in the world about how he has practically inked a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. And then our buddy Nick Fairbaugh says that the Steelers are so torn between the two that it may come down to a situation where they don't feel strongly enough about either and let both of them walk in free agency. So where we stand currently, Matthew Stafford, believe it or not. Aaron Rodgers, believe it or not. NFL draft with names like Jackson Dart, Will Howard. Colin Cowherd tossed out Riley Leonard in the third. Whew. Where are we going? And how bad is it getting? We say Justin Fields. Russ says Russ. Nick Farabaugh says neither. Let's rank our top five here. Let's rank our top five quarterback options currently that are realistic for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025 because, again, chaos, so much chaos. And I think it's time to kind of categorize and explain what is the best and what is the worst case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason in terms of quarterbacks. I have a list, a top five list here. I want your reaction to it. And if we have to tweak it, we'll tweak it. I'm open to tweaks. I'm open to feedback. It starts with number one and the easy one, Matthew Stafford. You could toss every name out there. The only one that actually gives you an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, if you do everything else correctly, is Matthew Stafford. He's the only one of the mix that you could say, I feel pretty good. They're going to make it to the playoffs. And if you go get Cooper Kupp with them, I bet you he could turn him and George Pickens into a pretty good duo. You'd have to figure out your running game. But if your offensive line takes a step forward, which a lot of people are expecting it to, myself included, you got a team that could score some points and is led by a quarterback who could score some points and who's a couple plays, maybe a win away from the Super Bowl. And who knows what happens if he gets there for, what would that be, a second time, maybe a third time? He might have lost one, but
no,
he has been. It'd be a second Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford is number one. I don't really have any pullback on Matthew Stafford as number one. Number two is Justin Fields. The way I look at Justin is, if you're not getting Stafford, you're probably not competing for a Super Bowl this offseason or this season. You might as well get the guy that's 25 years old, who isn't Trevor Lawrence, who could come in here, be viewed as a lottery ticket. I can't say that word or that phrase enough times. Justin Fields, in my eyes, is a guy that is a lottery ticket. He could work out beautifully. He could be the next franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He could be a complete bust that does nothing. And those 6 games were nothing but a mirage. And we looked at it and said, ooh, look at that. He doesn't turn the ball over. He plays good football. He scores a lot of touchdowns. He's exciting. He's young. Well, you give him a full season, it doesn't work out that way. Justin Fields is the guy that you might as well take a shot on somebody this offseason if you're not going to get a guy like Matthew Stafford, and he is number two. Number three is going to surprise you. Number three is Aaron Rodgers to me. Number three is Aaron Rodgers on this list. Oof. I look at Aaron Rodgers as, if you're going to look and say, screw it, Hail Mary pass, let's see if we win a Super Bowl. This is it. This is the 1 year. We're shooting for the stars. We're going to do everything we possibly can. And we're going to bring in a quarterback that we truly believe if we do everything we can and it works out, we win a Super Bowl. If you're going to take that Hail Mary, Rodgers is the guy outside of Stafford that gives you that opportunity, a real opportunity. I get that Aaron Rodgers might be washed. He might suck. It might be all over. But if Aaron Rodgers is not washed yet, if last year was just it's the Jets year, which I don't think is likely, but if it possibly does, he's a much better quarterback than Russell Wilson. Much better. He could do everything that Russ can't when it comes to using the middle of the field and utilizing all of your guys. And yeah, you're going to have to pray that your offensive line gets better. But I mean, I think you're praying with all these guys that your offensive line gets better. Aaron Rodgers is a guy in my eyes that if you're going to take a Hail Mary on a dude, out of the three at the end of this list, I'm taking a Hail Mary with Aaron Rodgers and saying, screw it. Worst case scenario, you finish with 3 wins. And who cares? Because you finished with 3 wins and there you go. Go draft Archie Manning. Go figure something out. I don't know if it works out, but I'd rather try with something new than going back to something old. Russ is number 4. I look at Russell Wilson as, if you want to be back here, if you want to do the exact same thing as last year, which the Steelers are very, very okay with doing. Steelers are very okay with being a 10-win football team because it means that they won 10 games and they're still a winning program. Russ is a guy. Russ is a much better option than anybody in the NFL draft. He's a much better option than waiting to get Will Howard or going after Jackson Dart in the first round or Jalen Milroe, who's a name we have stopped talking about, I think, out of concern for our mental health and everybody who listens mental health. I just look at Russ as a guy. Screw it, dude. If you're going to run it back, it's a better option than going to the draft. It's a better option than doing something dumb and drafting somebody who isn't ready or trying to turn Kenny Pickett into a franchise quarterback, because that's what this year's draft is. It doesn't work out. Russ is number 4. Number 5 is guys that should not be on the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you want to draft Riley Leonard in the 4th or the 5th round and make him Justin Fields' backup, cool. You want to draft Will Howard and do the same thing? Cool. If you're going to draft any of these guys, and the thought is they are competing for a starting job, you have messed up as the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you are in for a rude awakening. I saw somebody with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Ray Fittipaldo, predict that 2025 really could be Mike Tomlin's first losing season. You want to take that shot? That's how you do it. That's how you take that risk. You're really walking the line that Mike T could turn. I mean, he did it with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, and I think this is worse. I think this is a worse situation if you go with it this year. That's where I stand there. Stafford, Fields, Rodgers, that I know you have comments on, Russ, and the NFL draft. That's my top 5.
Yeah, I think the material difference between your top 5 and my top 5 is how we view the Pittsburgh Steelers going into next year. Okay. You right now view them as a team that are not Super Bowl contenders, but with the right makeover could potentially change your mind throughout the summer. I look at this as a team that in no way, shape, or form, I don't care what they do, shy of bringing in 3 Hall of Famers, I don't care what they do, they're not going to be considered, in my eyes, a Super Bowl contender. Therefore, the Band-Aid veteran quarterbacks are at the very, very bottom of my list. That includes Russell Wilson. That includes Aaron Rodgers. That includes Matthew Stafford. But I understand where you're coming from. If my eyes told me that they were a Matthew Stafford away from a Super Bowl, then I would put him at number 1 too. But my eyes just haven't told me that. So in my eyes, it's 1 through 3, and then it's a Moneyball situation. It's 1 through 3, 50 feet of crap, 4, 5, and the remaining options. To me, number 1 is Justin Fields. He's 26 years old. He's a guy that's been in the building for the last year, and he's a guy that showed you in game action that he can play. He can. What's the ceiling? Unknown. What's the floor? Well known. It was what happened in Chicago. But like you mentioned, it's a lottery ticket. You're not a Super Bowl team. I agree that Justin should be near the top of this list. I would put him atop mine. I completely agree with you putting him at number 2 on yours. At number 2 is a name that you didn't mention. He's 28 years old. And do I believe the Steelers could get the most out of him? Probably not. But he did get the most taken out of him last year, and he won 14 games. Sam Darnold would be number 2 on this list.
Yeah.
I would say because you could get him for not just this year, not just next year. If you're going to put faith behind somebody, putting it behind somebody who had the pedigree, fell off, and then showed that he could still do it at the NFL level last year, maybe I'd take a risk on him. And at number 3, to me, it's a draft quarterback, specifically for me, Jackson Dart. And when I look at Jackson Dart, I say first round, heck no. That is an awful move to draft Jackson Dart in the second round, or in the first round. In the second round, I look at it and I say, I'm gritting my teeth, but if that's the only place you can get him, you can get him. In the third round, I'm signing up for that every day of the week. That's my 1, 2, and 3. And then, like I said, 50 feet of crap. Russell Wilson, because he put on the Band-Aid that you know has worked in the past. And whether or not he lost 5 games in a row, he did win 6 games as well. And if you have no other options, sure, go with what's worked in the past. Go with somebody you know is going to be good in the locker room, and that's Russell Wilson. And then I put Matthew Stafford at number 5. The acquisition cost is a lot. And like I said, this is not a team that's anywhere close to a Super Bowl. So I'm not sure I'm willing to give up that much to bring in a win-now quarterback when I don't think this is a win-now situation. And Aaron Rodgers, off the list.
I realized that. I noticed that one. Okay. Okay. Sam Darnold, I think, would fit in at number 2 on my list as well. I think he'd be 3. I think he'd be over Aaron Rodgers, under Justin Fields. Matthew Stafford at 5 surprises me. Why would you? Oh, because of the acquisition cost.
The acquisition cost, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think Stafford goes for?
I think he probably goes for a 3rd round pick because I think there's going to be enough teams that are going to squint at their roster and say, but if we just had Matthew Stafford, and I think that's going to be enough to drive it up to a 3rd.
And you're not willing to give up a 3rd round pick for Matthew Stafford?
No.
What if you got 2 years out of him?
Again, in the next 2 years, are they going to compete for a Super Bowl? I don't think so. So I'm not going out to get Matt. I'd rather go with a younger option and hope that he turns into something. That way, at the end of 2 years, maybe you had something in that time, or you can build on it for the next 3 or 4.
Okay. What are you signing Russell Wilson for? I think that might be my last question.
I'm signing Russell Wilson I'm trying for 2 years. And I'm saying, listen, if we're for 20 to 25.
Total.
Okay.
All right.
But again, 50 feet of crap. Don't forget about the 50 feet of crap.
The 50 feet of crap's there, but the 50 feet of crap they might have to dig through. They might find themselves digging through 50 feet of crap to figure out the quarterback situation. So that's like a real possibility. 2 years, 20, 25 million bucks. That's not terrible. That's a good deal, especially for Russell Wilson. Man, it puts you in a rough situation.
It does.
If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, I hate to ask this question, but I have to. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you end up with Russell Wilson, if you end up with Aaron Rodgers, with not Matthew Stafford, but if you end up with one of those guys, cheap, like, what do you hope the outcome is? If you're a Steelers fan, what do you hope the outcome is? Do you hope that you get a top 10 pick, or do you hope that they pull it off? And at what point do you make that flip? How many losses before you go, yeah, okay, yeah, nope. We're just hoping for nothing.
Yeah, I think that if you do that, most Steelers fans are going to hope for a top 5 pick. I mean, in general,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
most Steelers fans are going to look at this and say, the draft's in Pittsburgh. Arch Manning's there. If not, Drew Aller, a lot of people like him, so they'll probably hope for a top 5 pick.
That would be, yeah. I think I feel the same way. I think if Russ came back to Pittsburgh, the hope is almost that they lose enough to give them a top 5 pick and maybe higher. Like, if you have that brutal of a year, at least you have a quarterback you could get rid of, and you could figure out so much more. I mean, what's a wasted year for TJ and Cam? Like, that excuse at this point means nothing, because a wasted year for TJ and Cam is to finish with 9 wins, a 1st round playoff exit, and you're in the same situation again next year with no way out of it at all. That's a wasted year for TJ and Cam. You might as well suck and set them up for Cam's final year with a banger. Give him a run. Let's see what could happen with a rookie who isn't going to win you a Super Bowl, but he's going to give you a better chance than anybody has in 5 years. So I agree with that. List is a little shocking, but again, like you said, like, we view the Steelers in different lights. I think it's February. I'm an optimistic guy, and you look at it and say there's no chance. And I understand the no chance. Right now, in my eyes, there's no chance. We'll see if that changes. I'm leaving the light on. As Mike Tomlin says, we'll leave the light on for him being a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, I think he might have stole that from Motel 6, but
he 100% did. He 100% did, which that doesn't even surprise me. He definitely listened to it, said nobody's going to pick up on that one. And then we'll leave the light on. Doors cracked, in the words of Mike T. All right. We've talked Trevor Lawrence. We've talked our top 5 quarterback options out of a list that continues to just get crazier by the day. And I would imagine we finish out the week with a bang. I know nothing. I would imagine I know something. The call I got last night was at 9:00 at night, asking just generally if I've heard any other nonsense. This is from somebody else. It's not from the Trevor Lawrence, same situation. This is from other people. You get phone calls all the time. 9:00 at night, I answer the phone. Hey, did you hear any other nonsense? No. And I laugh. I go, why? Is there more nonsense coming? And they said, I don't know, but the nonsense doesn't want to stop. And I said, all right, cool. Just, I'm glad that you're checking in on me. I appreciate it. That makes me feel loved and cared for. So thank you very much. And look, the Steelers are expecting it to continue, which means it's going to continue. That's where we're at. All right. we're going to finish off the show the same way we do every single day. We're going to answer all your questions. I know we got plenty in the chat. Make sure you toss more in. We will answer all of them before we head out of here. Make sure, once again, 2 more days of this, and then I won't mention it anymore. Shout out to our members. We already got a ton of calls for next Wednesday's show, our AST call-in show that drops Wednesday at noon. Make sure that if you are a member, you are leaving that voicemail, you are sending those emails. I'm still making those phone calls, so expect to get one very soon. With that said, I'm going to toss it to you, Nick. What do we got?
Yeah, let's kick it off with the honest truth. Appreciate you always. It says, why trade multiple 2025 picks for a $50 million plus Trevor Lawrence when we can pay Fields 10 to 15? Even if Justin Fields doesn't work out, we can always draft someone else.
I think Justin Fields is going to be 15 to 20, 15 to 25, somewhere in that ballpark. But I agree. I definitely agree. I will say this, though. Everybody immediately jumps the gun to what are you paying Trevor Lawrence? Trevor Lawrence's cap hit in 25 is $17 million. In 26, it's $24 million. In 27, it is 36. And then in 28, it is 48. From there, it takes a massive jump. But this contract isn't as dangerous and terrible as everybody thinks it is. You can't get out of it until 28. And in 28 or after 28, at that point, though, you take on no dead cap hit. So they set it up pretty okay. You know, they jumped the gun on it, but they set it up. They set it up pretty okay. So it's not the worst contract in the world. Still not worth going to get because you're giving up. They said a first and a second round pick. No chance, pal. No chance. Take the L. Take the bad year. Sign Justin Fields. Way better deal.
All right, let's go down to Blessed Light, who says, do you think the rumors of trading for Trevor Lawrence affects Fields' willingness to re-sign in Pittsburgh? I think that extends to all of the crazy rumors that have come out this week. Do you think that gets into the psyche of Justin Fields?
I think he hears it, definitely. I definitely think he hears it. But I would imagine the Steelers are doing damage control and continue to do damage control and continue to make sure that they know that they are letting him know that none of this is true. You know, if they're trying to put out fires as fast as they're trying to put out fires with this, with everything that's going on. I mean, think about it. The Steelers haven't let anything linger. They've let nothing sit around. Not Russ, not Aaron Rodgers, not Trevor Lawrence. None of it. And at the same time have made it known that they want Justin Fields. So I would imagine they're doing some damage control, trying to keep the fires calm. I do think that, yeah, there is a part of it that could affect Justin Fields. I truly do. That could be, especially how the season went last year and how Justin's definitely looking for a gig that makes him like the guy. No questions asked, the guy. The Steelers are going to have to prove that to Justin, so I would imagine they're saying something.
All right, let's go down to Rob Little, who says, why can't we learn from the Packers? Rodgers learned from Favre, and Love learned from Rodgers. Pretty simple to me. It can't be so cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. At the same time, though, you win a Super Bowl every, 15 years? That's what the Packers have done. So it works, but it doesn't work. And, you know, Ben Mason was supposed to be the Rodgers. It didn't work out there very well. So, you know, now you're just looking to start the Ben. You need to find the Favre now to eventually find the Rodgers.
All right, let's jump to Mike Lang. Just quick shout out, new member alert. Shout out to Mike Lang, who's been in the comment section a long time. So appreciate him joining the ranks of the members. And then let's jump over to Nicholas, who says, hey guys, love the show. What do you think about a wide receiver trade of George Pickens for Garrett Wilson? Is that even a possibility?
I'm not going to say it's not, because Garrett Wilson is reportedly still thinking about asking for a trade. And if he does ask for a trade, why wouldn't the Steelers call? If they are interested in a wide receiver, they are also interested in trading or potentially moving on from George Pickens. If the price is right, why wouldn't you call? I think that's an actual possibility that a phone call is made. I'm not going to say that a trade goes down. I definitely don't think it's GP for Garrett Wilson straight up, but I could see a phone call or two being made just to inquire about some interest. You want to talk about some actual inquiries? That could be one of them if that becomes like a thing, if Garrett Wilson becomes like the name on the market everybody knows about and everybody's calling about.
All right, let's jump to a couple from Madeline, who says, first, what do you think of Tez Johnson, Marcus Yarns, and Denzel Burke as possible draft picks for the Steelers?
I like Tez Johnson a lot. Marcus Yarns, I don't know who that is, to be honest. Denzel Burke, I like a lot. I'm a big Tez Johnson guy. I'm curious to know about Marcus Yarns, though. Do we know who he plays for?
University of Delaware.
Oh, yeah, I would not know Marcus Yarn's name, but I'll dive into Marcus Yarn. I started looking at Lacey tape yesterday because somebody in the call-in show said, go look at some Lacey tape on LSU. I said, all right, sounds good. I had a blast with it. I had a rocking headache last night. I sat in a dark room with a very dim television screen and went on YouTube and watched Lacey highlights, I guess, but I try to find as much film as possible. College football film's tough sometimes. Very tough. You gotta, I've actually been, I was messaged from somebody in Russia once saying, we have heard that you're looking for college football, like game film. Would you like an IPA, like a Russian IPA for it? And I said, no, that sounds terrifying. I'm good. But that's how difficult it is to get college film sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd quite trust that either. So I'm glad you didn't.
No. I know people who have, though. And I don't know why there has to be a black market of college football game film.
All right, let's go to a second question here from Madeline, which is, do you think Russ still has Mike Tomlin in his corner at this point? And do you think Tomlin wants to bring him back?
I think that it's fading. His corner is fading. He had Mike Tomlin in his corner. Then the Arthur Smith stuff happened. And when Jay Glazer says that Russ isn't coming back, he doesn't get that from anybody but Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin said that to him. That's what you have to believe. So I would believe that was Mike Tomlin's shot to say it's done, it's over. I think there's a little bit of a chance there, but I don't think there's as much faith from Mike in Russ as there was at the end of the season.
All right, let's go to Nate Moore, who says, in the spirit of Taco Thursday, what are the top 3 taco toppings? Cheese,
definitely. I would go the basics: cheese, tomatoes, and avocado.
I'd say I'm very plain as a human being, but I would say queso. There's
queso.
There's a hot taco, spicy taco sauce that we use that I can't think of the name of. So I would go with that.
Spicy chicken on top of spicy sauce.
Yeah, I don't think you quite understand how much I like heat in my food. So it is not only is that the queso is spicy, it's spicy queso with spicy chicken and spicy hot sauce on top of it. So yes, if you want to eat at my household, you have to have a very strong constitution. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's I'm good. Good. I'll bring my own tacos to Taco Thursday. That's what I'll do.
That's fair. Let's go to Samuel, who says, I haven't heard much about Van Jefferson in a while. What are the chances the Steelers bring him back?
I would say just about zero. Just about zero. Didn't do enough last season. The Steelers are looking to move in different directions and find some more help there. So I don't think there's much of a chance Van Jefferson comes back to the Steelers.
All right, let's jump down to NFL Today. Appreciate you says, what are the chances that George Pickens matures and the Steelers sign him for a long-term deal?
Yeah, I would say there's a 50% chance. Chad Ochocinco says it's 100% chance. I'm going to try to give away my response and a reaction of the, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think the Steelers sign him to a long-term deal this offseason. I don't see that in their future. If it would happen, it would be next offseason before he hits the free agency market. I don't know if that's going to happen either. They could franchise him at that point or however they choose to go about it. But no, it won't happen this offseason. They're going to have to give him a whole year to try to figure some things out.
All right, let's go back to the Honest Truth, who says, I know you've been looking at Caleb Johnson and Quinshon Judkins at running back, but would you consider Trey Henderson or Ollie Gordon? Where would you draft them if so?
I like Ollie Gordon. I like Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon's cool. I wonder where Ollie Gordon goes if all the injuries and stuff don't happen in college. I would imagine he goes pretty high in this draft. I still think he ends up being a 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think he falls too far. I like Ollie Gordon a lot. I like Trey Henderson a lot too. Trey Henderson, I would imagine, goes right after Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Johnson. Like I picture those both as 2nd round picks, and Trey Henderson's like a beginning of the 3rd round pick. I would be okay with both of them. I think both of them bring plenty of what the Steelers are looking for. Ollie Gordon kind of reminds me of Jaylen Warren a little bit. I think that they have, they kind of got that little spark plug to them.
I just laugh because they're both OK State Cowboys.
Yeah, and they look exactly the same. If you put jerseys on them, and they look like little muscle hamsters. That's what they are. So I'd be all about it. I think that I think both of them work. I like this running back draft class. It's deep enough that you could miss out on a 2nd round guy and still get a 3rd round guy that is, as long as you have a Jaylen Warren, as long as you have a Najee Harris, you should be in a good boat to try and develop them. But I do like Caleb Johnson and Quinshon Judkins the most. I will say that.
All right, let's go over to AJ, who says, "What's up, Noah and Nick? Noah, did you ever have any tight bonds with any of the Steelers players in your time covering the team, or did you ever have a favorite Steelers player you would always talk to?"
I mean, I don't know about a tight bond with any of these guys. I never went out to dinner with any of them, or anything like that. But they're definitely guys that I appreciate talking to every day. Definitely guys that we talked life a little bit. Whenever we were in the locker room or wherever we'd run into each other. So definitely, Calvin Austin's been on the show. I think Calvin Austin's one of the best humans I've ever met in the NFL. So that's awesome. But guys like Dan Moore, dude, guys like Spencer Anderson, guys like Mason Cole was the guy that you could just joke around with and have a good time. Offensive linemen seem to be awesome. Most times offensive linemen are the best. But yeah, so there's a bunch of them. I don't know about a tight bond, but guys that you could definitely, have good conversations with.
Yeah, I mean, offensive linemen are just big protectors. Like that's their entire job description is, hey, you protect this little guy behind you that's going to get cut in half if you don't. Like, obviously, when that's your job is to just kind of eat crap for a living, it's going to forge good humans.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, humbles you, makes you always respect the little guy.
All right, let's
go figuratively and literally.
Yes, exactly. Let's go over to Jeffrey, who says, "I understand the discussions around quarterback options via free agency or trade, but is there any quarterback that offers a better cost to production ceiling than Justin Fields, especially when you're looking at Arthur Smith's system?"
No. The answer is easy no. It's just not. But it comes down to many things because Justin understands that too, and his agents understand that too. They hear this just as much as we do. They have the same thoughts, and that drives negotiation price. So it's about how much are you as the Steelers willing to bend to get Justin Fields. That's what it might come down to. I don't know how far they're willing to bend. I don't expect them to bend much. But if Justin's got a bigger market elsewhere, it could mean that you have to. And that's a decision the Steelers are going to have to make. What's the upside compared to the risk of letting him go? And what are the other options both now and in the future if you do let him go? That's what they're going to have to consider.
All right, let's go down to our newest member, Mike Lang, who checks in and says, Omari and Hampton should be looked at, speed and power in the same package.
Yeah, I like Omari and Hampton. I don't know, man. There's something about him that gives me Javonte Williams vibes. He doesn't play like Javonte Williams, and I think it's just like PTSD from North Carolina guys never working out. Like, I think that's what there's some. One of the big offensive.
None. Drake May probably, but the first name that came to mind to me was Ryan Switzer, and I started laughing internally.
Exactly. Ryan Switzer, Mitch Trubisky, Javonte Williams. Like, I don't even Devontae Walker was supposed to be an absolute stud, fell to the 4th round. Like, I don't know, man. It makes me nervous, but I hear what you're saying. He's got plenty of speed. He's got plenty of power, and I think he's going to go pretty high in the NFL draft.
All right, let's go down to Soapy Nugget, who says, if we signed Darius Slayton, would it be a lock that they draft a wide receiver in the 1st round?
No, I would say defensive tackle is definitely on the list. I would say corner is also possibly on the list. And if Gray's Abel sitting there at 21, don't take your eyes off him, because I think that's a real name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think everybody's on the table for the Steelers right now. They will look at whoever's the best at all the positions available.
Quick shout out again to Mike Lang, who says Willie Parker won the Steelers a Super Bowl, and he was a UNC
that is
linebacker.
true. That is true. That is true. That is very true. That is very true. Shout out Fast Willie. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to call. It was Kevin Colbert, but there was also another scout who found Willie Parker, and I'm going to have to find that out. Give him a phone call. Say, hey, what do you think about Omarion Hampton? What's your thoughts? Fast Willie material? We in that same boat?
All right, let's go to Cody Silva, who says, with everyone headhunting right now, why does nobody talk about the wide receivers coach, Zach Azzani? He can't keep GP under control, can't get rookies or Mike Williams up to speed. Does he not have confidence in our wide receivers?
I am not putting the GP problems on any wide receivers coach. I am not. That is not where it should be. I'm sorry, but it's not. Like, that's Mike Tomlin's job. He doesn't do a good job with it. He never has done a good job with it. I'm not doing it. I can't put it on Zach Azzani with that one. The Mike Williams up to speed thing, from what I heard, he just couldn't get the playbook down. I don't know if that's Zach Azzani or I don't know if that's Mike Williams. And with the rookies, I mean, Roman Wilson was injured all season, so that's not that great. But Calvin Austin looked pretty good in his third year in the NFL, and that was under a new wide receivers coach. George Pickens also looked good. Zach Azzani's got a pretty good track record of guys like Garrett Wilson, guys like Cortland Sutton, guys like, I mean, he helped Jerry Jeudy, and he's turned into what he turned into in Denver. I don't know if I'm putting the blame on Zach Azzani. I truthfully, I'm not. Like, I don't put the blame on him.
All right, let's go to Steven, who says, what would it take to get a player on this show? Availability?
Yeah, that would be the biggest one. It gets a little complicated during the offseason. It's way easier to get guys on the show. We've had Calvin Austin on the show. I'm sure we could get a couple others that we definitely could. During the season, it becomes very difficult. You have to go through the PR team. That is not easy to do. But, you know, we've got things in the works. We'll figure it out. It out.
Let's go to Macaroni Salad, who says, so when can teams start cutting players under contract, i.e. a guy like potentially Larry O, Cordero Patterson, a Smith, etc.?
As of Monday, like this past Monday, you could get cut. The day after the Super Bowl, if you're a veteran, you're able to get cut. That's what the Steelers did last year with Harvin, Mitch Trubisky, and who was the other one? Chooks Okorafor, who got cut on Monday again this year. So shout out. And I don't think the Steelers are going to do that with any of these guys. I think it's going to be closer to March 14th that they make those final decisions. They want to see what the board looks like. They want to see who's going to be available. Also, like, Patterson doesn't get paid until June, I believe. Some of these guys will be post June 1st cuts. I don't know if Preston Smith is. I'll have to look at his contract. I don't believe Larry O carries like a big roster bonus either.
All right, let's go to Danny, who says, do you know what the draft process is exactly? For example, is it best player available no matter the position, or best player for the need?
It kind of depends. The Steelers, the way that they do it is they set up a draft board. Pick one. If they were picking number one, who would they pick? Great. If they were picking number two, who would they pick? Great. They do it all the way through. I believe they go 2 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. And they do the draft. And when they're up, they look at their draft board and they say, all right, there's 7 guys that haven't been drafted yet who sit before where we would pick. That may allow us to trade back a little bit to see if we could get added compensation for that. Or there's nobody there that they feel comfortable with, they're going to move down. So that's how they do it. And then it kind of just plays into who's there. Because if Emeka Egbuka is ranked 23rd and they're picking 21, but 21 and 22 are 2 guys that they think they could get better value for later, that's what they'll do. But that's how they set up the draft board, and then they kind of play it by ear.
All right, let's go to Logan, who says, wide receiver, running back, defensive line, and cornerback. Which of these positions of need do you take with your top picks in rounds 1, 2, and 3? And do you take the 4th position in round 4, or is there a different route that you would go?
I would go. Oh, in this draft, depending on who's there, let's just say perfect draft plays out. The Steelers could get a Buka in the first round. I'd go Buka in the first round. They could get a running back in the second. I'd go running back in the second. The third, I'd go defensive line. The fourth, I'd go corner. I might double dip at defensive line. I might go offensive line if it's there. I don't know if that's on the board. I'd also want to see how free agency shakes out. But if nothing happened, no moves were made, and the board shakes out the way everybody expects it to, wide receiver, running back, defensive line, and then maybe defensive line again.
Let's go to Jeffrey again, who says, is there any benefit to moving on from Patrick Queen next year if his play doesn't hit the amount paid? I think we're seeing the, quote, made by Roquan arguments pop up.
I don't think we're seeing those. I think people were a little harsh on Patrick Queen. I don't think he played the greatest, but I don't think the Steelers defense as a whole played the greatest, and he just kind of was the name everybody attached himself to. I also think that maybe our expectations were a little too high. Like, we looked at Patrick Queen as like, you should be the greatest thing on the defense. And, you know, he wasn't. There were definitely some issues. The vision was weird. It was like he couldn't see what was going on, which is a concern. But I'm not giving up on Patrick Queen. If he doesn't play well in 2025, yeah, I do think that you move on from him. I believe his contract is set up so that you could move on from him, and then you just go in a different direction. Peyton Wilson will play a massive role in that decision, but they'll hope that those two turn into the future of the inside linebacker position.
All right, let's go to Vibin with the Dogs, who says, when will this all be over? Here's a solution, Noah and Nick. Just sign Kyle Allen.
That is the move. That is always the solution. Sign Kyle Allen is practically the Pirates sell the team. It is almost the same and holds almost the same ground. Sell the team, sign Kyle Allen. I'm all for it. Shout out Kyle Allen.
Let's go to Brody, who says, everyone talking about Ibuka, but what about Luther Burden out of Missouri? If both are available, who would they take?
I think they'd take Ibuka. I like Burden. I like Burden over Matthew Golden, to be honest. I don't know if I'm all in on Burden. My thought there is, who else is available? Okay, if Ibuka's there at 21, I feel comfortable that Ibuka's worth taking at 21. I don't know if Burden and Golden are worth taking at 21. I think they're just, wide receivers are good. Maybe if you were picking 25th, I'd feel good about them. But 21, I think, is a different story. Are there defensive linemen available? Are there offensive linemen available? Is something crazy at corner sitting there? Like, there are just too many questions. And I think Ibuka comes with less of those questions. Burden and Golden, to me, maybe if you were lower in the first round, I'd feel more comfortable with it.
All right, let's go to Soapy Nugget, who says, what would you do if you guys had a Mitch Trubisky jersey you're trying to get rid of? I have one, and I think my only option is burning it, because who in their right mind would want a Mitch Trubisky jersey?
Oh gosh. You got to go give it away somewhere, donate it. You know, somebody who doesn't watch sports, who's looking for a Steelers jersey, could get it, duct tape the back of it, and put Roman Wilson on there. They'll be fine. Shout out Mitch Trubisky, man.
Oh, Roman Wilson. See, my head went, well, just get it replated for Dennis Dixon, because that is a much better jersey to have than Mitch Trubisky.
That would actually be way better. Scratch my Roman Wilson and go straight Dennis Dixon. Yeah.
Let's go to Unlimited Moonballs, who checks in and says, is a sign and trade with Justin Fields possible? If so, who or what would you want in return? I think maybe go after someone like Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it'd be really hard to. I just think it would be brutal. You want to really piss off an agent. You want to really piss off some players. You know, all these agents are connected. You got to remember that. Like, Justin's agent is the same agent as many other players in the NFL, a ton of other players in the NFL. You don't want to piss that guy off. You know, you can negotiate with them. You could understand the business side of things with them. The last thing you want to do is make Justin promises about how he's going to be the guy in Pittsburgh, and then you get rid of him. If you were going to franchise tag him, that'd be different, but the franchise tag's $40 million or something like that. So I don't think a sign and trade is possible. I don't think it's something that Justin Fields would want any part of. I think it would piss a lot of people off. If you were to do it, Kyler Murray would be cool. I think Kyler Murray and Arthur Smith's offense would be a good time. I think I'd rather Justin Fields, but I hear what you're saying.
Let's go to Pittsburgh Hornets, who says, which former Steeler would you like to see on the sideline?
Like just
As a
hanging
coach, I
out.
would imagine.
Coach, gotcha. Oh, that's a good one. Le'Veon Bell would be a good name. You want to teach a running back how to be Le'Veon Bell. I think you only could be Le'Veon Bell and do that. I think that would be one of them. I don't know. It's tough. Like Ike Taylor's probably a good one. Troy Polamalu's probably a really good one, but they would never come back. James Harrison, I think, would be a good one, but he would never. At this point, he's made it public. He doesn't want to come back. I'm not really into like the Hines Ward thing, but I think Le'Veon's a sleeper, man. I think that'd be a low key. It wouldn't happen. It'd be the same thing as like bringing back Antonio Brown, but I think they would be really good at teaching guys how to figure this out.
Yeah, the only true answer here is Antoine Randall because he's only one that's proven
that's
success,
true.
But he did just get poached by the Jets, so I highly doubt that he's looking to move anytime.
No, the Bears. He's in Chicago. We went Ben Johnson.
That's right. I always forget who went where because
the
Lions got picked clean here in the coaching cycle.
Yes, they did.
Shout out to Grayson, who is the newest member, and then also gives us a much harder version of the
let's go
cut. Start bench cut, Noah. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and Kyler Murray.
See, this is it. I like this. This one's a good one. Thank you. Start bench cut, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray. Whew. Oh, see, this one's tough because you want to pick the Steelers side of things and go Justin Fields. But if I'm going to be honest, I might be crazy here. You call me out if I am. I'm starting Kyler Murray. I'm benching Trevor Lawrence. I'm cutting Justin Fields. That's what I'm doing there.
That is that's an interesting choice.
I scrapped all contracts. This is fresh slate. You are just available. You're somehow all on the same team.
I would probably start Trevor Lawrence because I think he still has more to give. I would bench Justin. I would cut Kyler.
Oh,
I don't have a lot of faith in Kyler.
You're done with Kyler, huh? I love Kyler. I don't know why, but Kyler just excites me. Yeah. That was a good one. Thank you.
Let's go to Billy checking in. Says, do you trade for Hendon Hooker? No. He's not going to see the field in Detroit, and he's a Fields clone, maybe with more potential upside.
I don't know about more upside. I don't think I agree with the more upside part of things. I do like Hendon Hooker. I think he'd be fine. He didn't really look the greatest as a backup in Detroit, though, last season. Again, rookie year, working with backups. What could you expect coming off an ACL injury? Like, I get it. I don't know if I'd be into it. If you're going to trade for him for a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick, sure. But if you got to give up a 3rd, which is I think is where they drafted him, I think I'm going to pass on it.
All right, let's go to Shower Curtain, who says, if Ginty is off the board, would you consider 2 top-tier wide receivers in the first 2 rounds instead of signing a vet?
No, I would not. I think you need a veteran. I don't care who it is, but I think you need a veteran. If you're the Steelers, you need somebody who is 100% solid. You got him. Like, spend a little bit of money. It's okay. That's what I think the Steelers need. I think a rookie would be great, but I think the Steelers need a veteran, and I also am not about spending your first 2 picks in the draft on a wide receiver. If your thought process is maybe we start building for the future, great. Go back-to-back 1st, 2nd round wide receivers, but sign a veteran in between. You have the money to do it. But I don't think I'm using my top 2 picks on a wide receiver this year.
All right, and let's close it out with Alex, who says, Nick and Noah, what are the odds we can get in a round of golf this offseason? Would love to rip it with y'all.
We are not located in the same area.
No,
we need to know where you're located, where we're golfing, when we're golfing. We got a couple of weeks, so we'll figure it out. There's like a solid 6 weeks of the offseason where me and Nick are like pretty free. And then everything besides that is chaos. But we got time. So you give us the deets. We'll try to figure it out.
That's a wrap for today then.
Awesome. With that said, guys, we are heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. We will be back tomorrow morning to close out what has been a chaotic week. And maybe we get more. Who knows? In the meantime, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.